You've got a great piece on the terminal this morning, your team, about the potential scenarios between Iran and Israel next. Do you want to just lay them out for us, what we could expect?
Morning, Lizzie. Yeah, as you said, the suspense is growing because it's been 2 weeks, well, more than 2 weeks now since top Hamas and Hezbollah members were assassinated in Tehran and Beirut. There has been, well, although Iran has vowed to retaliate, it has yet to materialize. Now, according to our reporting, there are few possibilities ahead of us. Iran could launch a direct assault against Israel like it did in April. But just to remind our viewers, back then, among the 300 or so missiles or drones that Iran launched, Israel's air defenses and its allies, led by the US, have been able to intercept by basically all of them. But that still remains another option for Iran as it prepares to retaliate for the killing of Haniyeh, which it blames on Israel, which Israel has not claimed responsibility for. But there is also another possibility, and that is the fact that Iran-backed groups such as Hezbollah in Lebanon can launch an attack on Israel, possibly civilian infrastructure in Israel, without Tehran's direct participation. We think this is also more of a possibility because Iran does not want to be seen in a position that it's undermining Gaza ceasefire talks, which are set to begin today in Doha with the participation of both Israel and Hamas, and with mediators led by the US.
But as you say, Israel hasn't claimed responsibility for the killing of Ismail Haniyeh. And we were discussing with our earlier guest, Hassan al-Hassan, the possibility that actually the next move isn't from Iran, it's from Israel. Where do you rank that in the likelihood of scenarios?
Of course, it's almost impossible to know what exactly sovereigns are planning in terms of their next move, but at least according to our reporting, that's not really our base case scenario. As of today, still the possibility is that there is a direct or indirect attack by Iran or Iran-backed groups on Israel at some point. And a preemptive Israeli strike doesn't look like the likely scenario at this point. But what we know for sure is that both sides have been eager to show that they don't want to be doing anything to undermine the ceasefire talks that are taking place today in Doha. And that's probably why that any reprisal, either by Iran or the groups it backs against Israel, may have been delayed. They just don't want to undermine the talks because obviously everyone wants the fighting in Gaza to come to an end, and anything to the contrary would leave any of the participants in a very awkward position.
And I know you speak to all the different parties at play here in these ceasefire talks. What are you focused on as they progress today?
Well, there have been more than one sticking points in these ceasefire talks so far since US President Biden outlined his plan late May, which later has been sort of beefed up and more explained in greater detail to the parties. But there are some sticking points, and we don't see any sign that there have been a huge progress in terms of those sticking points. And what were they? Well, first of all, there is an existential difference between what Hamas sees in a ceasefire deal and what Israel says. Israel, no matter what the deal is, wants to eliminate Hamas from Gaza once and for all. Having said that, Hamas, on the other hand, wants any ceasefire deal to lead to a permanent cessation in hostilities in Gaza. That's one big sticking point that needs to be bridged between the parties. Another one is what happens in Gaza after the truce takes place, if there is one. Obviously, Israel wants to maintain a certain amount of military presence in Gaza, especially in the south, in its own words, to prevent Hamas from taking over Gaza again. That's something that Hamas is vehemently opposed to. And we know that as of today, the starting positions of the two sides remain the same on these two key issues.
Yeah, the immovable object and the unstoppable force seem to continue. Just finally, how do you expect if Iran retaliated today, it would impact those ceasefire talks?
Well, Iran has made it clear, at least through some of its key officials, including its UN ambassador, that it does not want to do anything that might appear to put those truce talks in jeopardy. Now, if it were to launch a direct assault on Israel, let's say today, obviously it would really be against all the expectations that it itself set by saying that it does not want to undermine the talks. Whether or not it's going to happen, it's very hard to tell right now, but it would definitely put the Islamic Republic in no position after making the statements that it already did.